Everyone asks how we survived 4 years of long distance. The truth? We almost didn't. There were moments where we genuinely weren't sure we'd make it. 2 hours apart, a 4 hour flight between us, and one stretch, 5 months without seeing each other in person. Looking back, there were a handful of lessons that changed everything. If you're hurting, say you're hurting. Don't go quiet and leave the other person guessing. But it wasn't always the big conversations that mattered. Some nights we'd spend an hour talking about absolutely nothing: what we ate, what happened at work, a funny TikTok we'd seen. Looking back, those ordinary conversations ended up holding the relationship together because the moment one of us disappeared into silence instead of showing up with even the small stuff, that's when the other person started filling in the blanks. We learned pretty quickly that going to bed angry never made the argument smaller. It just made the distance between us feel bigger. There were nights we'd hang up still annoyed and tell ourselves we'd deal with it tomorrow. The next morning, we weren't still fighting. We just weren't talking. And somehow, that silence hurt even more than the argument did. Eventually, we realized that holding on to grudges over little things never made either of us happier. The happier moments came when we dropped our egos, apologized first, made up, and moved forward together. Because at the end of the day, being right was never as important as being okay. After we met in person and realized there was actually something here, we started having the conversations that mattered right away. What we wanted, where we saw our lives going, what scared us. It would have been easy to tell each other what we thought the other person wanted to hear. Instead, we chose honesty. Looking back, that honesty became the foundation for everything else. If we'd softened the truth just to keep the peace, I honestly don't think we would have made it this far. If you feel a shift in someone's energy, don't assume something's wrong between you. Talk to them first. There was one day we were both trying to reach each other. I called. No answer. I sent a text. Nothing. And after that, our minds started filling in the blanks. Maybe they're ignoring me. Maybe they're upset. Maybe I did something wrong. Turns out, they were sitting there thinking the exact same thing about me, trying to call, trying to text, getting nothing back. We were both sitting there convinced the other person didn't care. But the truth was, the signal just never made it through. It sounds almost ridiculous now. But that day taught us one of the biggest lessons of our relationship. When something feels wrong, talk before you assume. There was a stretch where even the smallest things somehow became arguments. Ironically, it wasn't when we were apart. It was when we were finally together. One of us would say the wrong thing. The other would take it the wrong way. And suddenly we were arguing over something neither of us would even remember a week later. There were moments where we quietly wondered, is this it? Are we done? Then one day it hit us. We only got a handful of days together every few months. Why were we spending those precious days fighting? We'd waited weeks, sometimes months, for those visits. Neither of us wanted our memories together to be arguments. We realized we weren't really fighting each other. We were fighting old habits we'd learned long before we met, old patterns, our own egos. And once we started letting those go, everything changed. We learned how each of us handled conflict, what made us shut down, what the other person actually needed in those moments. In the end, we were both so much happier when we stopped trying to win the argument and started choosing each other instead. Looking back, that season taught us more about ourselves than almost anything else. Sometimes the hardest part of a relationship isn't learning how to love someone else. It's learning what parts of yourself you need to leave behind. Here's what people don't talk about with long distance. The time you do get together is almost always the best time. Every visit feels like a highlight reel because you know exactly how temporary it is. You plan everything: the restaurants, the little day trips, the movies you'll watch together. Then somehow, it's already the last morning. You're packing your suitcase again, heading back to the airport. The goodbyes were never hard because we were doing something wrong. They were hard because we'd just spent a few wonderful days together. The better the visit, the harder the goodbye. And honestly, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Looking back, those moments made all the waiting worth it. And if we learned one thing, don't let silence tell your story. Say the thing, even when it's hard.